This book by Joseph Campbell, which if at the end of the video you still want to know more, I highly recommend you get it and read it because it has a lot of really good information. But in this book, published in 1949, Joseph Campbell breaks down the basic plot structure of every story that has ever been told. Some of it has to do with psychology, but when telling a story, people usually do it in a way that follows this basic plot outline. And while the ways that they do it may vary drastically, each of the stages of what is called the hero's journey or the monomyth can be found in those stories. And I know a lot of times when you're writing, you want to do things differently than how other people do it, but when it comes to the hero's journey, whether you mean to or not, your story is probably going to follow this more or less, so it can help to know it and then find ways to sort of twist what people are expecting. Like add twists because in writing, if you have to know the rules to know how to break them. So the hero's journey, I mentioned that it has stages. It's usually portrayed as kind of looking like a clock or something like this. You'll see that, as I said, there are 12 stages, like there are 12 hours in a day, and each stage is either set in the ordinary world or the special world. I will get more into that later as I walk you through each of the stages. The first stage of the hero's journey is, in fact, the ordinary world. This is where you establish what kind of world your characters live in. You can establish the culture and the society, as well as start hinting at what the conflict is. But this is also, most importantly, when you first get to introduce your main character and your hero. And important things to include is show the reader what is home for the hero. Do they have a home? Are they a wanderer? Do they have any friends or family? What matters to them? Because throughout the whole journey, what they're going to be fighting for is their home, or their family, their friends, whatever it is whatever their life is in the beginning, that is what they're going to be fighting to get back to, because the conflict threatens that. But you definitely want to have that established so you can build off of things later. The second stage is the call to adventure. Something happens and your hero is challenged to do something about whatever this conflict is. It could be an evil dictator. It could be maybe there's like a disease spreading around, alien invasion, just about anything. But the hero is challenged that they can is told by others that they can use their unique skill set or unique abilities to do something about the problem. But this usually leads into stage 3, which is the refusal of the call. For one reason or another, the hero has decided that they are not going to accept the call to adventure. It could be they would rather stay home and take care of their family, take care of their parents. Maybe they don't want to get caught up in this conflict because they feel like it would be a huge risk to not only their lives, but the lives of the people they care about. Maybe they just don't want to get involved because they feel like it's not their problem. But whatever the reason is, there needs to be a strong motivation. And sometimes the true reason that the hero doesn't accept the call, the true reason they refuse it, might not be revealed till later, because the hero themselves might not really know why they're so afraid or why they are so reluctant to accept the call to adventure. But keep in mind, whatever the reason is, it's something that will be hinted at in upcoming tests and trials, and it's something that the hero will ultimately have to face. Stage 4 is the meeting with the mentor. The mentor is typically someone older than the hero. It's kind of like a grandfatherly or fatherly or even grandmotherly or motherly figure that the hero looks up to, but it doesn't always have to be someone older than them. They could be around the same age, but this is the person that the hero always goes to when they need advice and they need help making a decision. The mentor typically knows the hero better than most people do. They may know things about the hero that the hero doesn't like to talk about. It could be because the heroes trust them enough to reveal it to them, or because they have known the hero longer than most people. But ultimately, the mentor is the one who convinces the hero that they need to accept this journey, either to help the people around them or to overcome whatever it is that's holding them back. So stage 5 is crossing the first threshold. The hero has finally been convinced that they need to accept this challenge. They need to go on this journey, either for themselves, for their loved ones, or just for the world. And this is the point of no return. In Lord of the Rings, you see this, especially in the movie, when Sam stops because he realizes it's the farthest he's ever been away from home. Once the hero crosses the first threshold, they've officially left behind the ordinary world. They have left behind everything that they know, and they've started on this new adventure, and this is the point of no return. And this is a place where sometimes doubts will start to rise up about whether or not the hero should do this, but ultimately, for one reason or another, they decide to continue with their journey. On their journey, stage 6 is test, allies, and enemies. It's rather self-explanatory, but the hero starts encountering these different smaller challenges that maybe test their skills and abilities, test their relationships with people, their knowledge, their courage, their motivation, or just their willingness to do something that is either right or something that is wrong. But these tests, they usually tie into why the hero refused to take the call, as well as their reason for accepting it in the end, what they're trying to do and protect. The allies are the people that come along and help your hero along the way. This could either be someone that they encounter once that lends them a hand, or as well as people who decide to go on the journey with your hero for their own reasons. And enemies, of course, are the people seeking to hamper your main character, whether they just don't like them, or whether they're the main villain's hench person, or they just people out to cause trouble. There will always be enemies along the journey. And your hero and their allies will have to face them in some way, where they either outsmart them, outmuscle them, or sometimes the hero can maybe convince some of these enemies to stand down, convince them that what they're doing is wrong. But that depends on the main conflict and what you're trying to teach with the story. Like, if you're trying to teach that maybe violence isn't always the answer, and about the importance of remembering that people are humans, you would have it so that your hero convinces these enemies that he or she is trying to do something good, and so they either stand down, let them pass, or maybe even agree to help. But once again, that depends on the story itself. After that, you get to stage 7, which is the approach to the innermost cave, which sounds really, really spooky if you ask me. But this is when things are getting dire, and once again, in Lord of the Rings, it's when the hobbits get to Mordor and they see the huge gates that they have to go to, so they have to find a way around. But this is when things start getting really dark, the challenges start getting harder. The hero is forced to face their doubts, and in a way it's kind of like the dark night of the soul. These are some of the ultimate challenges that the hero is going to have to face, and it's not going to be easy. It kind of reminds me of a quote that I really like. It says, "Characters are like geodes. To know what they're made of, you must break them." So this is the point where your character is going to have to go, the hero is going to have to go through some really tough decisions. And they're going to have to wrestle with these doubts. And one way or another, they are going to have to face the ultimate evil of your story. But the reason why they do it, because they believe it's a good thing, or maybe because they realize, oh well, I've made it this far, why not finish, or what do I have to lose, whatever their end decision is, whatever their end motivation is, they eventually decide that they have to move on, and it's not an easy decision. Stage 8 is the ordeal. This is the final challenge. It's the biggest battle that the hero will have to face. They're going to have to draw on all the things that they've learned throughout their journey about the world, about themselves, and maybe about the antagonist, the person that they're going up against. But ultimately, along with the ordeal, people describe this, it is also titled as the ordeal, death, and rebirth. Because in a way, whether literally or figuratively, your hero is going to experience some kind of death. Whether it's another character dies, or they themselves die, they have to maybe face and let go of the thing that's been holding them back, or maybe they get to the point where they lose all hope. But there will be some form of death, and then after that, a rebirth. After the ordeal is stage 9, which is the reward or seizing the sword. At this point in the story, the hero has, in one way or another, been reborn. This could be a literal death and resurrection. It could be they've brought back an old part of themselves that they thought was dead. It could be any number of things, but either way, the hero is not the same as they were before. They are stronger than they were when they went into the ordeal, and coming out, they have some sort of prize. This could be a literal, object. It could be a revelation, a key piece of information, or it could be they've reconnected with a person. But either way, there's some sort of reward that the hero receives upon surviving the ordeal. Unfortunately, the hero is not allowed to celebrate at this point because the journey is not over. So they have to put aside all the parties and celebrating that, yay, we did the thing, and they have to continue on and return home. Stage 10 is the road back. It is, in many ways, it's a reverse of the call to action and crossing of the first threshold. But the main thing is the hero is returning home. There may come a point where the hero has to make a decision between their personal wants and desires and what's better for their world. But either way, they're going home now. This is a part that sometimes gets cut out of movies, but you can usually find it in the books. A prime example is with Lord of the Rings. One thing that they cut out of the movies is when Frodo and the other hobbits return home and find out that Saruman has basically taken over. Things like that get cut out of movies sometimes, but that they can be very important to the story, because maybe the hero's reluctant to go home, or maybe they're really excited, but it's a great chance to further develop the character. And also on the road back, you can revisit people, show changes in their relationships between the people between your different allies and enemies. And you can go ahead and start hinting at what changes or what might be different in their ordinary world without fully revealing what it is. Stage 11 is the resurrection. This is the do or die point. The hero is going to be faced with a battle, and it may be physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, whatever the battle is. The stakes have never been higher. they could win or lose everything at this point. And they're going to have to use everything that they've learned, everything that they've gained. They may have, a big part of it may be related to whatever their reward was once they survived the ordeal. But as I've mentioned a few minutes ago with the Lord of the Rings, the resurrection is when Frodo and the other hobbits have to fight and defeat Saruman, because they have to fight to reclaim their home. The final stage, stage 12, is the return with the elixir. The hero has finally made it home and they can settle down. They can maybe take some time to celebrate what they've done and what all they've accomplished. This is a good time for them to reconnect with family. And an important thing to remember, though, is while they are coming home, yes, this is a homecoming for them, but they are not the same person that left. Because they've grown, they've gone through lots of changes, they've learned things, they've possibly grown older, grown stronger, but they've changed, they've become more themselves. So this could cause some conflicts or help strengthen some old relationships. In a nutshell, that is the hero's journey. Now that you know, you'll probably start seeing it in all the books and movies and shows that you watch, so you're welcome. But it's just, take this as a chance to learn from that and learn story structure and how you can sort of mess with the story structure a bit and have a lot of fun with it. In the next video, we will be covering one of my favorite topics, and that is villains. What makes a good villain? Sometimes how not to write a villain, but in this case, we are going to be analyzing one of my current favorite villains. Don't forget, if you like what I'm doing, make sure to like and subscribe down below, and if there's anything you would like to hear me cover, or any questions you have about me as a writer, feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below. Have a good one!